to get right into it. A federal judge says tokens are not securities. And this is the judge in the SEC and Coinbase lawsuit. Now, if you ask me, the SEC is being handed to them every time they take someone to court. What do you mean? Well, I mean the Ripple and SEC lawsuit. Judge Torres deemed XRP not a security in itself. XRP is now allowed to do trading. SEC and Grayscale put in a lawsuit against the SEC because they wouldn't allow them to convert their GBTC into a Bitcoin spot ETF. And what happens months later? 11 Bitcoin spot ETFs get approved and become trading for ETFs. Now, a federal judge versus the SEC and Coinbase lawsuit says tokens are not securities. This is a prime example of where and how digital assets are going to move. Because if this judge just says tokens are not securities, as in plural, that means this is giving the green light for other digital assets to make a name for themselves, even the old household names. Now, the Howey Test was created back in 1934, and it's an old and outdated way to actually try to clarify a digital asset. In 1934, the Howey Test wasn't accounting for digital assets. They were only accounting for other stuff. And that's just like saying, if I get a baseball card, I'm expecting to make profit from it. Is that considered a security? Absolutely not. So why should digital assets? So that should be the same for any other digital asset. But I just think it's very interesting how now the Coinbase team is now asking for this case to be dismissed, because it's very stupid to even have this case. The SEC knows that they're losing, and they are trying to find a way to make money off of everybody in the digital asset ecosystem, including big companies and including the little people. It's so annoying. But now tokens are not, since this judge is saying tokens are not securities, it's very interesting to see what altcoins are gonna pump and what other digital assets are going to pump. It's going to be very interesting. Moving on. We got some breaking news. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says they are heading towards tokenization. Let's watch this together.
And we believe it's so important to be anticipating the next move. I would also say on the beginnings of a ETF Bitcoin, we believe ETFs are a technology no different than Bitcoin was a technology for asset storage. We believe the next step going forward will be the tokenization of financial assets. And that means every stock, every bond will have its own, basically, CUSIP. It'll be on one general ledger. Every investor, you and I, will have our own number, our own identification. We could rid ourselves of all issues around illicit activities about bonds and stocks and digital by having a tokenization. But the most importantly thing, we can customize strategies through tokenization that fits every individual. We would have instantaneous settlement. Think about all the costs of settling bonds and stocks. But if you had a tokenization, everything would be immediate because it's just a line item. And so we believe this is a technological transformation for financial assets. I believe if you want to talk about voting and voting choice and all the things, if we know every moment who is the owner of that stock, and it's now time to vote, every individual who has ownership is identified and they can vote their own share.
That is absolutely huge. Do you know what blockchain that actually sounds like? If you don't, I'm going to tell you. That actually sounds like the XRPL. That is the main game, the main end game. That is when XRP does everything that it's supposed to do. Everything is supposed to be tokenized on the XRPL. Because right now, you can pretty much make transactions and you can move your Bitcoin on the XRPL. There's no doubt about it. You can move everything on the XRPL right now. What's so very interesting is that he was asked if there was going to be a Bitcoin spot ETF, and he could not answer it. Look, it's only 20 seconds. Listen to y'all.
Bitcoin ETFs is an example that we're legitimizing it. We're creating more See?
Well, let me ask you this. Will you do another ETF? How about an XRP ETF? I know you got the Ether out there. How about XRP? Can you answer that?
I can't. And you don't want me to.
So he can't answer that question because he knows that if he answers that question, the floodgates will be unleashed when it comes to XRP and the XRPL. Because what is the name of that company? What is it? Is it Solo? I can't remember. But they were actually creating, I forgot the name of it at the time, but I believe it was Solo something. Please forgive me, y'all. But it was a Canadian-based app company, but it allowed you and us to get ETFs. They were doing tokenization, and it started back in 2022. I forgot the name. It's on the tip of my tongue right now. But they were heading towards a step for tokenization, putting ETFs on the XRPL. They were actually jump starting it. I forgot the name of it, y'all. But this is real. This will propel XRP in a whole different atmosphere. Unfortunately, it will propel it above Bitcoin. It would propel it above Ethereum. It would move in a completely different stratosphere because now you have instant settlements. You have CBDCs on the XRPL. Then you have ETFs on the XRPL. And just yesterday, like we were discussing, you could potentially have gold on the XRPL. Because the moment that XRP gets deemed a legal tender, if they deem it a stablecoin, because stablecoins have to have a set value, whether it be a low value or whether it be a high value, I believe that XRP is going to be set at a higher value. If banks need to do a $2 million transaction, if XRP was at $10,000 per XRP, they would only need $200. They would only need 200 XRP to make that $2 million transaction. It's that simple. Now, do I believe we're going to get there? Yes. Do I believe XRP is going to be backed by gold? It's starting to look like we may get placed back on that gold standard when it comes to XRP. Because remember, that bill is HR 4766. I believe that's what it was. But it talks about making stable coins legal tender. And legal tender can be backed or pegged to another asset or another element. That's my beliefs. That's my thoughts on it. And that's what I'm sticking with. So I think it's very interesting that Larry Fink is now trying to move forward and move past a Bitcoin spot ETF and now bring it the next step further into tokenization, whether it be NFTs, whether it be ETFs, whether it be real estate. This is the direction that we're going, and the only blockchain that's capable of doing all of those without having any type of malfunctions is the XRPL. Moving on. And again, David Schwartz actually also talks about tokenization. Let's hear it.
I'm hoping that we're going to see, as real-world asset tokenization projects grow, I think the XRP Ledger is going to be a really good platform for them to launch on. Particularly because of the low fees and because of the integration with the DEX, with the proximity to sort of the movement of funds. The ability, if someone's going to buy, what do you want to do with a real world tokenized asset? You want to buy it, you want to sell it, you want to hold it, you want to transfer it. And if you want to buy it and sell it, you want to be able to do that with whatever asset is convenient for you. You don't want to tie, if you tokenize some sort of debt, like you don't want to tie it to US dollars because then that limits access to it to people who have sort of proximity to US dollars. One of the things the XRP Ledger is good for is giving you sort of proximity to many different assets, and that exchange is seamlessly built in. So I think that's one of the many reasons why the XRP Ledger is going to be a good place to launch tokenized real world assets. I think we'll see that in the next year and a half.
He thinks we'll see it in the next year and a half. Well, we're getting very close to that. And I'm super excited to see what happens. I do have a feeling gold is going to be one of the main ones. And like I say, y'all, gold is heavily manipulated, but so is Bitcoin. So is the digital asset ecosystem. There's nothing that we can do to stop it. Even regulation can't stop it, right? But it's just that we have to try to find a way to adopt and adapt to what's happening. Because I can guarantee you, the more innovation gets involved, the more technology gets involved, the more ways we can transact with XRP and on the XRPL, the better the ecosystem will become. And that goes for any other digital asset too, not just XRP. But tokenization is going to be the way. I cannot wait to see what happens to that. This will actually take the digital asset ecosystem to a next level. Moving on. And speaking of the XRPL, the largest financial group is set to issue an NFT on the XRP ledger. I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, here's the thing. Like, this is one step closer to tokenizing everything. I think the NFTs were the first. You got music albums being tokenized, right? So we know it's possible. So it's very much possible. This is by SBI. I thought that was pretty neat. All right, moving on. One analyst believes that Litecoin. Now, here's one thing that you really don't see too much now is Litecoin. People really don't like Litecoin, and I don't understand why. For those that haven't really thought about it, but Litecoin has 100% uptime since it was actually created. No downtime, no hacks, no double spins, no 51% attack. The only thing that people don't like about Litecoin is that its creator, Charlie Lee, dumped all of his tokens, and I don't necessarily believe that that's true though. But one analyst believes that Litecoin can reach $10,000 because we've just hit an all-time hash rate for daily users, new addresses, and holding addresses. Now, he compared it to Bitcoin's hash rate when it hit an all-time high, and I think that that's very interesting. But let me know in the comments below if you think that we are going to get an all-time high for Litecoin. Moving on, I'll tell you, back to Bitcoin. Franklin Templeton says other layer ones outside of Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana have massive potential, and we are continuing to support, monitor, and develop on those networks as they grow and mature. Now, I wonder if he's talking about the XRPL. I mean, because we already got the BlackRock CEO saying that there's going to be, that the next step is heading towards tokenizations. Could Franklin Templeton actually be talking about the XRPL? Because we already know that they're into Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana, and that's very interesting in itself. But we could be seeing a different momentum and a different shift when it comes to the XRPL and when it comes to XRP. I am super excited. I get riled up when it comes to this, folks. Like, every day there's something interesting about XRP. Every day there's something interesting about the XRPL. Something comes up that we don't see, and it just sparks major attention. Everything. And I thought that was very neat. Like, XRP is one of the most interesting digital assets out there. It's the fourth oldest digital asset, and it has the most intriguing things about it. So I thought that was interesting. All right, VanEck coming for your JPEGs, folks. Do y'all notice the direction that everybody's moving to now? JPEGs are digital. NFTs are digital. Could we be seeing now VanEck, BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, and all these other firms that were pushing for a Bitcoin spot ETF? Could we be seeing them moving towards tokenization, towards NFTs, towards the utilities of NFTs? If we see this movement will happen quick. This movement will happen within a blink of an eye. Does that sound familiar? XRP is the last and fastest to push within a blink of an eye. And we could be very well seeing something happening very soon. Something that really, moving on, here is memes. You got memes now. You got Franklin Templeton says 60-40 straight or 60-40 plus Bitcoin. I thought that was pretty neat. I tell you, man, the person behind these accounts, this I love this type of entertainment. All right, Moving on, JP Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon is continuing to be back in the news. He's starting to give personal advice. He says his personal advice is to not get involved into Bitcoin. JP Morgan is an unauthorized participant for BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF. Make that make sense. If you just got a brain seizure reading what he says, then that's exactly how it feels like. He is giving personal advice not to get involved in Bitcoin, but yet he's an authorized participant for BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF. Make that make sense. This is a classic textbook of do as I say and not as I do. Then that's very interesting. Like, he was the one that caused the Bitcoin market to dump from 20K all the way back down to 3,500. And then comes back out and was like, and then comes back out the following year and says the Bitcoin Lightning Network is far more superior than Visa, which made a rally increase even further for Bitcoin. Let's listen to see what he has to say.
Cryptocurrencies, there are two types. There's a cryptocurrency which might actually do something. Think of a cryptocurrency as an embedded smart contract in it, and then we can use it to buy and sell real estate and move data. That may have value.
The idea of tokenizing.
Tokenizing things that you do something with. And then there's one which does nothing. I call it the pet rock, the Bitcoin or something like that. And so on the Bitcoin, there's, first of all, and I'm not trying to make a joke here. There are use cases. AML, fraud, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, sex trafficking. Those are real use cases, and you see it being used for hundreds, maybe 50 or $100 billion a year for that. That is the end use case. Everything else is people train among themselves. So
speculate.
Yeah. Now my last statement, the last time I ever talk about Bitcoin, is I defend your right to do Bitcoin. I think it's okay. I don't want to tell you what to do. So my personal advice is you don't get involved. But I don't want to tell any one of you what to do. It's a free country.
What do you make of black?
So that's the thing right there. He said he doesn't want to tell anybody what to do with Bitcoin, but yet years ago he blamed everybody, his employees, that if you get indulged with Bitcoin, you will be terminated. But now we fast forward to some more info that we just found out is that while he was telling everybody to not get into Bitcoin, we found out that his main team was actually getting into Bitcoin. Let's watch it.
On September 12th, Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin is a fraud. He says he'll fire any one of his traders buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin drops 24%. When Jamie Dimon speaks, people listen. So that weekend, we found out that the largest buyer of a Bitcoin fund that's in Europe that buys physical Bitcoin, right? The largest buyer was Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan. And that's not illegal.
He says it's a fraud.
It says he fire anyone that buys it. Yes.
And at the same time, his company is buying it.
His company is buying it.
So so unethical.
On September 12th.
And as you can see, it was so unethical, but yet it's still happening. But then you go back and say you're not going to tell anybody what to do. It's contradiction. That gives me brain farts, people. I don't like getting brain farts. I like looking at something and understanding it. But anything that this man says is just so confusing. But one thing, again, that I did catch, and if we go back, he goes back and he talks about this, about tokenization. Tokenization, like I said, that is going to be the next move. Jamie Dimon's talking about tokenization, right? BlackRock CEO Larry Fink is talking about tokenization. Brad Garlinghouse is talking about tokenization. David Schwartz is talking about tokenization. See, the narrative is changing, and I think it's very interesting. Then this is a longer clip I'm not going to play, but they're also talking about tokenization. Folks, tokenization is real. It's going to bring a new use case and a new utility for digital assets, mainly particular XRP. But all right, y'all, that'll do it for me. Please make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button and click that notification bell so you'll be notified any and every time I post another video. Looks like the market is still stagnant, but we shall see something happening very soon. All right, y'all, I appreciate you all, and I will see you and everybody else on the next one. Peace.
I